everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Victoria L. Women's Holistic Health Strategies. I'm really excited to have Rhonda here with us today. Rhonda is an amazing energy healer, and she also works with sound and her drum. She has so many amazing offerings that she brings to the table, and I'm excited actually to have Rhonda here today because we're going to talk about how she used inner child healing and inner child work to work through her eating disorders and really healed her body and healed her relationship with food, which I know is a major thing for so many women nowadays with body dysmorphia. And I'm just really excited to have you on here today, Rhonda. So welcome. Thank you. This is actually take 2. So I'm really excited to try this again with you. So Rhonda, I would love for you to just introduce yourself, share a little bit about who you are, what you do, and give us a little bit of background about you.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me on. First, I want to start by saying congratulations on your book.
Thank you.
Because I'm so proud of you and it's so amazing and you're going to help so many women. And I just wanted to, publicly acknowledge you for all of us that would love to do that.
Thank you.
So I became a Reiki master, I believe it was 8 years ago. And while I was becoming a Reiki master, a dear friend of mine, Alicia, she took me on a journey, a shamanic journey to heal that little girl that became bulimic in grade 7. So I jumped on a white horse with her and went back to the table where my dad told me I was getting fat and I forgave him and I forgave myself. And then that led me to becoming an intuitive eater. I read the Fuck It diet, which was my favorite diet to follow.
Yeah.
So I did intuitive eating and then I became a yoga teacher. And I think when I first started out on this journey and had my awakening, I wanted to do all the things. So I did do all the things. So I started doing inner child work probably about 6 years ago. And, became a sound healer about a year ago. And I think I graduated last January. I'm a cacao facilitator. So basically, I just love to hold space in any way I can that calls to people from different modalities, whatever resonates. Like sometimes sound healing just resonates and sometimes Reiki just resonates. And sometimes, you get people or couples in and you get to try all the things on them. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell. I have a business on the side and inner child and eating disorders are a main focus of mine because I believe in that work so much.
Now, with regards to your inner child work and how you healed your bulimia, can you just dig a little bit deeper into that? Because I know it's something new for a lot of people. We think that, eating disorders need to be healed by just learning how to eat, whereas it's really so much more than that. So I would love for you to share how you recovered through your work of what you've done and how you've been able to heal your bulimia.
So I was bulimic for 21 years. For a large portion of my life, I was bulimic for as long as I can remember. I remember I'm a teacher. I remember being at work and we have all the food in the staff room. We like to emotionally eat as teachers. And still to this day, I will do it. Even though, I probably shouldn't, but I do. I think that's part of my healing. So in the beginning, Alicia took me on this journey to find the root, and the root is the most important part of inner child work. So going back to that very first time I've thought about being bulimic, which would have been I remember until this day, my dad was sitting at the right head of the table and I was sitting in a chair and he's like, Rhonda, you're gaining a little bit of weight. You need to watch what you're eating and blah, 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 and just kind of led into me. And I'm just sitting there like this man that, was supposed to be my father and my protector is telling me that I'm getting fat. And at the time I probably weighed like 110 pounds. I wasn't like looking back. I was never a heavy child. I had big legs. My family has big legs, and people are not big boned. We all have the same size of bones. We just have different
more or less. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he did that, and I went back there, and I connected with that little girl, and my heart just broke in that moment. Like, this man that's
Mm-hmm.
supposed to guide me until I become an adult is just taking a shot at me. So I really connected with those emotions, and I forgave him because
Mm-hmm.
he's like anybody else in this world. We're trained to think that people should be skinny, and that's the best thing that we have to offer anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So I forgave him, and that was the root for me, was him, when that exact moment, and something switched inside of me, like, oh my God, I am getting fat. I don't want to be fat. And this was
Mm-hmm.
in the 90s, when like cocaine
Oh my
diets
God.
or whatever were
Yeah.
happening, and models were a
Yeah.
size 00,
Yeah.
so I got to that root, and then I'm like, okay, what next? And I literally just stopped vomiting. And that's what
Mm-hmm.
bulimia was for me. I would vomit up any food that I thought was bad, any food that I,
Mm-hmm.
felt bad eating, and that wasn't healthy and whole. And
Yeah.
so I stopped that act of it. And then I'm like, okay, I'm still afraid of food. I was afraid of a banana
Mm-hmm.
at one point, like just too much
Yeah.
sugar in a banana. And I look back to where I was and where I am now, and I love bananas, and I'm not afraid to eat a whole one, which
I
is a
love that.
big,
Bananas are so yummy.
just big for me. And I know it sounds silly, and I'm sure there's people out here that are still afraid of bananas. And I just want to
Yeah.
tell you, it gets better. It's
Yeah.
okay. You don't have to
Yeah.
be afraid. So I found intuitive eating, and I found the Fuck It diet, and I found another book by Marianne Williamson, and it talks about the emotions behind that, because every
Mm-hmm.
illness comes from disease, so we store all of these emotions in our body. And yeah, so one time I was reading that book, and I literally, like, the next day I woke up in hives, my whole body
Mm-hmm.
covered in them, and I have no allergies. This never happened to me before. And I'm like, I know this was the book that I was
Yeah.
working through. It's a very religious book,
Mm-hmm.
so it might not be everyone's cup of tea, but at the end it gets to the emotions. So intuitive eating and reading the Fuck It diet, and just allowing myself to eat food. And like, peace with food for me was eating a piece of pizza and not vomiting it, or eating some Oreos and not throwing that up, or
Mm-hmm.
eating cupcakes. I used to go to my friends' baby showers and be like, I can't eat your cupcakes because I'm on a diet, like, can't gain
Mm-hmm.
a pound. So I made peace with food, and I allowed myself, and that really came in layers of how I healed that, and eating things. And it might sound silly, but at the same time, at one point in 2020, I think it was 2018, I got to the root. I read this book, Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It. And I looked in the mirror for 5 minutes, and my niece and I did this activity together, and we just looked and we said, I love you. And we laughed, and we had so much fun. And one of the
Mm-hmm.
main things that has also gotten me through this eating disorder recovery is saying, I love my body. Just as
Yeah.
simple as that. I love my body. I love myself. I
Yeah.
love my body. I
Yeah.
love myself.
Yeah, and I think
So
it's important to note that it's been a process, right? Like, yes, you went in and you healed that child moment when you and your dad had that conversation that really triggered it, but it's not like you did that and then kind of woke up the next day and you were able to just eat whatever you wanted and do whatever you wanted. It's been a process for you, and I think that's really important. I think a lot of people don't want to take the time to go through and to process what is there, right? Because you had what, you like 21 years of
mhm.
conditioning in your mind, right? Of like you said, don't eat the whole banana because it's bad for you to eat the whole banana. So it took time to work through it and to process it. You've made so much, you've done so much work there to get to the place where you are now. And I think that is something that we really should acknowledge, especially as women. It's a process. It doesn't just happen overnight. I don't know about you, but I had to, when I gained the weight for perimenopause, was when it really tested me to know, like, do you actually love your body, right? Because it's easy when you look like everyone wants you to look to love yourself, right? It's super easy. But then when your body gets bigger and you're looking at it and you're going, oh, but it doesn't fit the narrative anymore. Can I still love it though? Right. And that was a big part for me. And I know you've done, like you said, so much work to just get to that place where you do love your body, and you do that fun stand in the mirror and that kind of stuff. And moving forward, as you kind of have progressed here, what would you say was one of the main tools that you've used to really help you get to this place? Is there any specific thing or any advice that you give out to other women who are facing the same thing as you've been through?
I think the main goal is to just love yourself unconditionally. So going back to, I would stand in the mirror naked and I would look at
Mm,
myself and I would touch my fat belly and my fat thighs and my every
yeah.
part of me that I hated. And I would
Hmm.
stand there and I would say, I love you, I love you, I love you. And
Mm.
sorry, makes me
No,
emotional just thinking
it's
about it because
beautiful.
it's
Yeah.
just such a simple act of looking at your body and saying, I love it. Like, when's the last time you looked at your body and said, I love you over and
Hmm.
over and over and over again? And I used to take my belly out after I ate and I would give it love. This is something my mom and I both do. Like, we just
Mm.
thank it and, give it love. And making peace with food was kind of fun. Like, I would go home on a Friday night and I would order a pizza. Sometimes I
Mm.
would get in the tub and I would eat that pizza. I'm single, so I got to create my own fun. But I would eat it and eat it and eat it. And I think one of the main things is being okay with eating that food, And eventually
Hmm.
I'm like, I don't like to eat pizza all the time because I don't like the way my body feels. So it went from not being afraid of it or getting fat to, I don't like the way that these foods make me feel, because
Hmm.
before I was terrified of them.
Yeah.
So the first thing I started out doing was 3 things I love about myself. In the morning, I would wake up and I would say that. So I kind of want to just talk about a few things that really helped because I want to get that
Hmm.
message out. And
Yeah,
before, it was
please.
like, I have great hair.
Yeah.
Like, I like my nose. I like, and I couldn't
Yeah.
say my body. I couldn't really find anything I like about myself. And eventually I started to, and I'll be honest, I still have a struggle naming
Hmm.
3 things, I love about my body, but I have strong legs that allowed me to be an athlete my whole life. I have strong arms and hands, focusing
Mm.
on what they can do for you instead of just looking at them. So loving yourself. And it sounds
Hmm.
kind of simple, but I didn't know that I didn't love myself. I thought I did. And then 2020, I was like, oh my God, you hate yourself. You need to start acknowledging how amazing you are.
Hmm. Yeah. No, I agree. That that is, I feel like there's a lot of people that had that awakening in that time frame as well. Yeah, a lot of us did. Okay, so you've healed so much, you've done so much work, and now you're starting to help other people and move into the space of holding space, being a facilitator for these things. I'd love for you to share with us more of how, like, what do you do, how do you do that, what do you do as a practitioner? Let's dig into your offerings and what you bring to sessions with people.
Okay, so when I first became a Reiki master, I was like, I want to give Reiki to everybody. I want to tune everybody. And I would get clients and they would come over and they would be dead silent. They wouldn't say anything to me. They would just
Mm.
enjoy the Reiki. I would give them messages. And I learned that not everybody wants to talk about it. Some people just want to come and they want to have energy move and they want to look at it
Mm-hmm.
themselves. So if I was to bring you through an eating disorder healing, you would come over and I would get you up on my massage table. And I would start off with some tuning forks. So I love the opening
Mm-hmm.
chakras and emotions, they're all related. Everything really goes back to chakras. So opening them up that way and then doing a little bit of sound healing, because doing this work isn't easy and not
Mm-hmm.
everyone wants to do it vocally, like sometimes I'll have clients and they'll share with me what's happening and sometimes they won't. And I just have to listen to my guides and know that what we're doing is something magical and it's going to heal. So I like
Mm-hmm.
to open up with that, probably some Reiki before, some tuning forks, some sound healing if people are open to that. And my favorite thing to shake things up is my gong.
Mm-hmm.
I
I love
love
your gong. I love it so much, but I like big loud music. So I was like, please
yeah.
do it. I love it so much.
So, I have some crystal bowls, I have an ocean drum, I have some
Mm-hmm.
some samples, and so that just kind of gets you relaxed and opened up and ready to do the healing. So then we look for the root of whatever you're coming to my table for. So let's just use eating disorder.
Mm-hmm.
So thinking about your very first time like the day you became
Mm-hmm.
anorexic, or the day you became bulimic, or the day you became orthorexic. There's so many different
Mm-hmm.
types of eating disorders. So we try to find that root, and some people, can get there. Sometimes it takes them a little bit longer. So you go in and you find the root, and I'll use myself as an example. So finding that conversation that I had at the table with my dad.
Yeah.
So we go in and you feel into that. So you feel the emotions in your body and where they come up. Sometimes it's in
Mm-hmm.
your head, sometimes it's in your throat. It's usually one of the upper chakras if I had to, use past experiences. So focusing on where that's feeling in your body,
Mm-hmm.
and then you give it a color. And I like to go back to your favorite spot in nature as a child, because most of these issues stem from where you're a child. So going back, we'll use mine as an example, is this big rock that I had when I was a kid in my backyard. And it was kind of like in between the property lines. And I'll just go and I'll lay there and I just feel so free, because I grew up in New Brunswick and there's lots of trees, and used to set booby traps out there with my friends for our other friends. And it was just a big, wooded
Mm-hmm.
area that I loved to be in.
Mm-hmm.
So you go there and you focus on those colors and those emotions you're feeling, and you just let them go. You let them go. And I know that
Mm-hmm.
sounds so simple and easy, but it's not. It's not
No.
easy to do that. But like owning in on that moment and those emotions and letting them go. Like, I've healed so much through this work, and it's
Mm-hmm.
such a wonderful process to go through. It can be very hard, and tears come, and all the
Yeah.
feelings
Yeah.
come
And
up.
yeah, absolutely. And I think it's really important to note that these are things that you can do on your own for sure. But I found in my process and my journey, I've worked with you quite a bit on quite a few things. And it's so comforting to have somebody there with you, guiding you. And like you said, sometimes, like, it wasn't even that I had to relive the bad experience or the trauma or anything. It was just a matter of whatever energy was stuck there needed to be let go. So not even all the time do you have to, go through that memory again, but it's just there's something there that's stuck. So let's move it out and let's get it out of the way. And I think it's a beautiful thing to be able to facilitate and hold space for people, as you do, for people to move through and to feel and to be held. I found, um, so the one thing that I really loved that you offer is the sound. I am very deeply connected to music and to sound. So being in a space where you can feel the sound vibration and um, the what you are bringing forth is so guided by whatever my guides or my spirit is telling you that it means. So it's very beautiful that way. And would love for you to share with everybody, how can we connect with you if people want to book a session or to even just learn more and to talk to you? What is the best way to get a hold of you that way?
I have an Instagram account called Eclipse Holistic Healing. I am by no means somebody that is on there all the time. I don't make videos all the time. I definitely am on there though. So if you look like things are, not daily, it's just because I focus, on my own healing. And I think in
Mm-hmm.
order to create space, I need to always be healing deepening my offerings that way. So instead of being on social media, I just kind of post every once in a while to let people know I'm still there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can
Okay.
get to me through Ronnie Ann on Facebook. I'm a teacher, so I try to hide from parents on there. So yeah, Eclipse Holistic Healing is on Facebook and Instagram. And yeah.
Awesome. I will make sure that everything is linked in the show notes so that people can grab your information and come talk to you there if they so feel called. So as we close out today, Rhonda, I would love for you to share, is there any little tidbits of advice or any last little guidances that you feel called to share with us today before we close out and say bye?
I think the one thing that I can share is the best thing that you can do for anybody in your life is to take care of you. My favorite, thing to go to is when you're on a plane and it's crashing, you go for your own oxygen. So taking care of you and not worrying what anybody else thinks. We grow up in a society that conditions us to believe we're not worthy, so we'll buy their products. So just loving yourself and knowing that if you are struggling with an eating disorder right now, it can get better. I know that you'll go through waves in your life of, oh yeah, I beat it, but I think acknowledging what the true root is really where the true healing happens, and it will stop you from having a reoccurrence of that eventually someday. So just love yourself and surround yourself with beautiful human beings like yourself that celebrate you and love you unconditionally. And we, as women, we don't know how to love. We don't know how to really love ourselves or other women, and learning how to love yourself and other women is the best thing you can do. And I'm so grateful for people like you in my life, because without you, I wouldn't, it would have taken me a little longer to get there, because sometimes you can lean on your friends for support, and they can tell you, how great you are when when you're not feeling it. So
yeah, no, that's important. That's 100% really important. And I appreciate you so much. I've leaned on you so many times, and I love that. That is something that's so important. And that's one of the things that I really want for these kind of conversations on this podcast is I want other women to understand that we're not in competition with each other. We're here to love and support. And if you can find an amazing group of people who will love you unconditionally, who will let you go through the phases of your life the way that you need to go through them, right? Like there's been times where I've ignored you for weeks on end because I've just been in my own shit and I haven't been able to I know I should talk to her, but I'm in my own shit. And I just love that you have been there for me unconditionally, whether or not I have shown up to do the things that I said I was going to do. I love that. And moving forward, I'm so grateful that we've had this conversation. I would love, we are in talks about something else special to come out on the podcast. So stay tuned, guys. We will update you once we know exactly what we're doing there. But there's definitely some talks going on about some awesome stuff coming up. So yeah, that's it for today. I greatly appreciate you guys staying here and listening. I will make sure that all the information is posted so you can connect with Rhonda should you feel called to do so. And we will check back with you next week. Have a great week.